Hello everyone, welcome back to Talks with Kalpana CXO Spotlight. In our recent security conversation with industry leaders, we touched on the why behind cyber gap assessment. Today, we take that journey forward into the how, turning insights into execution, strengthening enterprise environments, and prioritizing security outcomes. Delighted to have two distinguished leaders with us, Sachin Kawalkar, Chief Information Security Officer at Neeyamo, steering security for a global organization operating across geographies and compliance frameworks. And Mr. Saurabh Barjatia, Chief Technology Officer, GVB, and co founder of Cyber Vigilance, helping enterprises detect security blind spots and build cyber defense maturity with structured tooling and visibility. Thank you both for joining.
Thank you, Kalpana. A pleasure to be here.
So, Sachin, let's warm up with something light. When you look at today's enterprise threat landscape, what's the one word that best describes cybersecurity operations?
It's very difficult question answer, Kalpana, to answer in the one word. But yes, I guess since the technologies are growing rapidly, digitalization is happening across, AI is coming in, the Gen AI probably playing a very important role in a crucial role in placing the cyber security. I guess the use of advanced tools and technology along with the skill set and awareness, if the combination of both, if it is layered across, probably we will be able to achieve the goals and objectives what we have defined for.
Interesting. That sets a perfect context. Okay, let's take this deeper. Saurabh, same question for you. One word and why?
Kalpana, if I have to define cybersecurity with one word, I will go with backups because that's the last line of defense. In case of a very advanced adversary, very technically, sophisticated attack, it's at least good to have some backup so that we can, come back on our feet and restore to the previous state.
Okay, so that's a great start. So, such an enterprise teams often identify gaps but struggle to close them quickly. From your experience leading global security, what slows execution?
Now, it's very interesting and important question because every organization they try their best to make sure that yes, they are always compliant. But some of them succeed 100%, some of they won't. Now, the only area which I feel which is lagging in most of the organization is the 360-degree overview about or the scope and the boundaries of their organization. A lot of times when we feel that okay, cybersecurity, ransomware, incident issues, attacks, hackers, everything which has happened, and there is a potential data breach which has happened because of cyber incidents, probably there is some area where which has not been looked into. And why it has not been looked into? Is it like something which the internal team or the tools or the technology failed to do so? Or maybe because of the visibility that what are their spectrums and the scope and vulnerabilities. Now, a lot of the time, there are a lot of thousands of APIs and the connectors which are connecting to environment. Do we have the list and inventory of all those connectors which are coming inside? The second one is lot of time you have the dependency on your third parties, where your network is getting shared or connected to the third party, and via third party, there is a possibility of the issue which is coming inside. So the third parties like the adherence to the controls and the compliances. Now, when I say, because I typically follow that if any organization, if they follow very structured religious approach to any compliance, 90% of the things are taken care because the standards and the structures are built in a such a way that they spread across, span across all the domains and all the areas, whether it's a human resource in terms of awareness, training, coaching, skill set, whether in terms of network security, legal regulatory requirements, or physical security and the boundaries, or your access to your environment, or maybe a complex cloud environment as well, or the application security environment. So any standard, adherence to any standard, it will help that to identify closer or maybe more in depth the vulnerabilities or the gaps in your environment. So I guess there is a dependency on your assetization scope boundaries, depending upon your third parties, asset list or maybe a list of comprehensive connectors which are coming inside, wherein the malware or maybe a ransomware or the injection may come inside your environment. and the religious adherence to your standards and the compliances. Lot of organizations, they do follow a lot of ISO standard, multiple. There are now thousands of standards built across all the domains. How much you are enabled or you are assuring those compliances and the adherences. And the last and the important will be a continuous repeat adherence and the measurement of that. Typically in ISO 27001, and that is what I like the most. They call it, always call it as a PDCA, plan, do, check, act. Keep on doing it. Plan, do, check, act, plan, do, check, act. It is something like you are mugging up something, and someday, even if it's a complex mathematical problem, you will be able to solve that. So, in the continuous adherence to these compliances and control checklists and continuously identifying it. It is not like once in a 10 years you went to the doctor and did your health checkup. That's why doctor always say that you should have a 6 monthly health checkup. So keep on doing it. Get the new medicines, remediate it, better get your health or the more better, on the chart, and keep on doing it. So that's why I guess probably no one is 100%, but at least with that, you will be able to reach to 95, 98%. Third percent, the 3% delta, probably you need to oversight, or you need to make sure that yes, tighten advanced layer of controls are in place. This is how I feel like, okay, we can be taken care.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You really highlighted real operational friction here.
Yeah.
Oh. So, from the solution and architecture side, Saurabh, how do you see companies operationalizing fixes faster?
Kalpana ji, what I completely agree with what Sachin ji has mentioned. Uh, First, what he's trying to highlight is the visibility. What is the infrastructure I have? What is on the ground implemented? And to check what is on the ground implemented, we can refer to the standards because they are very comprehensive. And once I know what is my infrastructure, how it has been configured now, and then how is my vendor also following their best security practices, we get an overall view. Okay, this is maybe these 2-3 are the best practices, and against them where I am. And it's a learning cycle, right? It's not like on day one when I do the first review I'll do a very good job. There's always a learning. That's what Sachin ji is also pointing out, right? We do it periodically and we get better at it, and we get so once we have full visibility, yes, these are the things that need attention, then we prioritize and we focus. So we want to focus on things which uh, have less cost in terms of both money and time, right? Straightforward to implement in our environment with our team, with our tool set, and then give you most returns in terms of security. So if we start with visibility, like Sachin ji is telling, and then we turn that visibility into prioritized list of action items, then based on what is missing, some organization may need something related to network, somebody may need two-factor authentication, somebody may need encryption. But unless we have visibility, it's not a good idea to just pick something at random and start, right? So that gives us the most most optimized path to get very secure very quickly.
One more point which I wanted to add what Saurabh ji has mentioned, Kalpana, here, the skill set. Now, a lot of the time when I go for a lot of the conferences, I do typically ask that, do you have a right skill sets available? So deploying any tool or solution in your environment, whether it's a cloud security posture management or any best in breed, the world's best global tools configured in your environment, but how you are making the best use of that tool. Do you have a right skill set in your internal teams who will make the best use of that? It is just not like the buying the Rolls Royce, but you don't know how to ride it. So it is something you need to know the each and every component, because a lot of the time, even I have seen, for example, maybe the any best cloud security posture management tool which is been deployed on the perimeter, but is it configured rightly to get the real time objective of for what it is configured for? If you don't have the skill set, then probably that is another a small section of the vulnerability which will left in your environment.
Yeah, sure. So, if CISOs could fix only three things first, what should be the top of the list?
I guess hopefully it's for me becoming the CISO. I guess the first and foremost is, as I am keep on saying, the visibility of about your environment. That what is your scope of your environment? Because when I say the chief information security officer, so what is the information and that to the crown jewels of your organization? be it like your application, your database, your third parties, your internal, your outside, your even if sometimes it's even a paper-based information, depending upon the type of the business which you do. A lot of the banks still they are doing the KYCs on the paper. Now, that is also one of the important area which needs to be looked into. So first is the visibility. The second one is what are the internal your assets and the external assets. When I say external assets, means the third parties, dependencies, your cloud, your hosting, everything that need to be looked into. And the third important is what are the various technologies which you have deployed to measure those. Now, probably for the third party, how robust is your third party security, risk management, the tools or your processes to make sure that yes, your third parties are compliant. For internal environment, what are the tools which you have deployed? For example, like for the endpoint, maybe you have EDR, XDR, MDR, whatever, SIAM, then the cloud security posture management, the ZTNA, all those things, how you are deployed. And then the integration of those tools to make sure that you are getting a single consolidated dashboard. Now, a lot of the tools which are deployed in the environment, but sometimes we fail to get the real time outcome of it because it is so complex. We only read one primary tool, but other tools probably they are not integrated. We miss to or we fail to read those the vulnerabilities, and that may lead a small vulnerability may lead to a major incident as well. So you should have the visibility on that area, and then I guess continuously getting those advisories. I guess probably you need to any CISO he need to be make sure that yes he is always updated with the real time advisories that what is happening in the outside world. What are the new vulnerabilities on the day when you start your working? If you are not aware, probably then because lot of the patches, lot of the advisories, lot of things which comes, probably it will help and safeguard you. And the third important is the in-depth assessment of all the layers. You have to make sure that you are doing the in-depth assessment. Typically in my organization, I made sure because being we are the largest global payroll organization, it's very sensitive business. We made sure that we have the multiple vendors deployed. Sometime maybe the vendor he has not configured or fine-tuned their engines to identify those gaps. It is something like you are going to a doctor and then trying to measure your sugar level or the blood pressure level. The devices itself are outdated or they are not calibrated properly. So if that is the problem, then you need to have a secondary doctor. And that is how if you see lot of the times now in the real-time world, people do prefer a second opinion of a doctor. So do you have for at least for a critical assets, do you have a secondary vendors who can identify and then you can make sure that or you can differentiate the reports. At least you will understand that yes, you are in the right zone of security. So these are the areas I guess as a CISO need to be taken care.
Yeah, so I think this is the gold mine you have given to the practitioners. Okay, so it was a great clarity. Let me bring in Saurabh also. So, Saurabh, where do you see maximum ROI with the minimum in effort? In terms of the take Sachin has given.
Kalpana, I completely concur with Sachin. So, what he's mentioning is, we should have a visibility of the tools that we have. The tools, we need right tool for the right job. I'll give you one example. There are a lot of endpoint security. Just to make themselves more competitive, they will show data leak prevention as a feature. But data leak prevention requires separate set of tools. A normal endpoint security, which is like let's say next-gen antivirus or XDR, is not typically very good at data leak prevention. But they will show it as a feature. There will be a tick mark. So we have to know, okay, what tool is good for what purposes. So that's the first part. Then we need to be in depth in the technology. What I and Sachinji, I think we regularly encounter is a new product is purchased or a new tool is deployed, but it's just done a cursory, next kind of deployment. What is in my organization? What are other things in my organization? What is my goal? Why I even purchased it? Is that tool meeting it? So that requires a review of the output. So each tool will have some kind of dashboard, executive reports, detailed reports. At least when it is being deployed newly, there has to be a constant review whether the tool is performing the way I want, and then keep tuning it till we achieve a desired outcome. And then, of course, as part of periodic review, if further changes are required every quarter or every 6 months, that will happen. And then external view, right? Now, no single team will know everything. So I may be very good at network, but maybe I'm not so good at operating systems. If I'm good at operating system, maybe I don't know cloud so well. And even if I engage one external vendor, he might notice 2 points, he might miss out on something else. So if we have separate set of eyes, that's how that open source also gets developed. Too many people, too many eyes, at least somebody will spot some problem. So if we keep having external audits, third party audits, independent audits by different auditors, over time somebody will bring in something new to the table which hasn't happened before, and maybe we'll find some gap and fix. So it's a combination of getting the correct tool, correct technology, and then having the in-depth knowledge. If I have to pick specifically based on what we see on the ground, we have seen gaps on antivirus. There are legacy antivirus which work based on signature. They are not good at all anymore. If there are modern antivirus which work based on indicators of compromise. Is this process going and trying touching too many files? Is this process trying to hide itself? Is this process going and registering itself as a startup? Based on those indicators of compromise, a machine or an executable can be treated as virus or not virus. That I have seen customers who have gone for the most modern antivirus, next generation antivirus. They are not getting as much impacted by ransomware and things like that compared to those who are still on legacy antivirus, signature based, machine getting slow. So first thing will be the endpoint security, because attacker gets in through a non-technical person. I haven't seen organizations getting compromised because something wrong was done by an IT team. While we do VAPT, we do firewall rules. Most of the time, it's a phishing mail which has gone to a legal expert or an accounts person. They click on a link or they run a file or they reply to a mail, and then the compromise starts. So decent endpoint security is the first thing. Second, same on endpoint level, a security awareness. We have to keep training our people. We have to do more phishing campaigns. We have to tell them, don't click on this. Always check with IT team. Don't send passwords like this. Don't keep passwords here. Don't reply to such emails. Right. So general security awareness. And third gap, which I see, is almost everybody now fortunately has firewalls, but they are not deployed properly. I don't see SSL decryption being done. I don't see network segmentation being done. We don't see directional rules. For example, I want my machine to be able to contact printer. I should be able to take a print, but printer should not initiate connection to my machine, right? So I should be able to take print out. I should be able to connect to maybe a CCTV camera. I should be able to connect to some other device, but those devices don't need to connect to my machine. And when we practically go and check the firewall settings, unfortunately, majority of the places we don't find those practices in place. So device is already there, cost is already incurred, licenses are already there. It's just that if it is deployed very technically, organization can benefit a lot. So to sum up, basically endpoint security facets as well as the firewall is where I see every organization can start and get a huge benefit with very less initial investment in terms of time and cost.
Yeah, thanks for the insights, Saurabh. So, when it comes to endpoint security, Neeyamo operates globally. When work from home, distributed teams, varied compliance laws. So, what's your approach, Sachin, to securing endpoints at scale?
See, first thing is like we have a very standard uh, process. We are the process driven organization and we believe in the processes. No matter it's a security, quality, or privacy, and we have almost uh, 10 to 11 certification we possess to make sure that yes, nothing has been missed in any of the area. Now, when we talk about the endpoints, because that is something where you have a user access in the system, and there is a multiple possibility of a data breach, data leakage, everything. So we have made sure that we have the process driven approach. So first thing, we have a very robust policies and documentation in place. Second thing is the enforcement of those documentation or adherence to those processes. Now we have made it in a such a way that there is no bypass for the process. Everything need to be driven through the system. So now when we say system, for example, if someone need a remote access or a VPN access, it has to come through a system. So there is a proper ticketing system. Now without ticket, nothing will happen because the approval process is something which is defined and enabled in the system. Now, as I mentioned, we have a very defined process, documentation integrated in the system, which is automated. So any user, if you need anything, then he need to come inside your service desk. And that is completely reviewed, risk is checked, whether that is allowed or not, and then basis upon that, the accesses are provided. Now, when I say the endpoint accesses are provided, even on the top of the access, we have a very stringent process defined for hardening of that. So it's something like we have a very thin client machines which we have created and which is enabled with all the latest signatures of your antiviruses, your ransomware, malware, your DLPs, your hardening with the best of standards, then your the best in breed tools like Trend Micro, Sophos, Palo Altos, and all those stuff which has been deployed, which acts as your endpoint, your EDR uh, solution deployed. And then we have the three layers of defense. It's not only about one solution, but three layer of defense. So somewhere, if anything which is getting bypass will get definitely caught. Now, this is on the endpoint level. Now, since the endpoints are jumping to the perimeter, we have the multiple security layers defined in between so that if anything which is getting violated or a bypass will definitely get caught at the perimeter level. So we make sure that anything, everything which is not compliant or which is not in with what we have defined as a rule, then definitely it will get caught within the perimeter, inside the perimeter. So there is no chance of any violation. And since it is real-time monitored, now the important part is lot of time we deploy so many tools, but there is no monitoring of it. So we have to make sure, even if it's a DLP, now there is a violation of a DLP, that alert is getting popped up somewhere, but who is monitoring? So somewhere you need to have the real-time and the sensible monitoring solutions deployed, or the configuration has to be made in a such a way that it is really in a plain text visible to the security guy, and he should immediately take action on that part. So deployment, enforcement, and then the monitoring on the real time, so that it is always within your environment. Nothing is crossing your boundaries, and then you can safeguard yourself from violation of any data, breaches, incidents, and anything which is getting outside. So multiple security approaches is important.
Yeah. So, does it mean that too many tools and there's a too little integration?
It's not like, because sometimes you really need to that, because every now when we say EDR, XDR, MDR, SOAR, or your DLP, or your next gen firewalls, every, or even antivirus as well, every tool they have their defined outcome, they have their defined objective. Now when I say the antivirus, they have their defined objective. Now most of the companies, or few companies, they say that okay, I have the antivirus, which will take care of your EDR, some section of your file monitoring, some section of DLP. But no, because that tool is not even meant for that. So we need to have a dedicated tool defined for that particular rule. So it is not something that, okay, there are multiple tools, because sometimes we really need the combination of tools to make sure that every tool defined for their objective are playing their role, giving the right outcome, and then that outcome is getting passed on to the next tool. And that is how this layer will approach. For example, my desktop or the systems are hardened thoroughly. That is something, the first layer of your defense. Second one is your deployed tools. If the endpoint itself is not configured properly, then I don't think so your DLP will even work the way it has to be. So the layered security, connected security approach will definitely help, so that even if it is hopping between 1 to 2 seconds, if there is a violation, it will get caught. Between second to third, there is a violation, it will get caught. To make sure that at every layer, the scrutiny is getting done, the checks has been performed, and then at the final layer, when you are crossing your boundaries, it's a very clear what the message has to go.
Yeah. So let's take another layer of, the same as we are discussing about consolidations and integrations. So how can enterprises, according to you, reduce noise and build a one view of security?
Now, this is little complex, because now a lot of the companies, they have multiple solutions deployed. So what I always feel like, when you are onboarding any vendor, a technology vendor, a security solutions or a security vendor, you have to be very thorough when you are doing the POC at the time of your proof of concept with your existing environment. because your environment is already settled. You have everything which has been already placed in your environment. You cannot change for a vendor. So now you need to select, and multiple vendors are available. So right selection of a vendor is again plays a very important role. So you have to make sure that the vendor which you are selecting at the time of your proof of concept, you are checking every area of that particular tool, whether the tool is able to talk with every component of your organization, whether the message has been getting transferred to the every tool or the other tools which are there, and then the integration of tools in the real time basis, and then the meaningful text outcome, a readable outcome of the tool is something which will help uh, in terms of your security, a single console dashboard. Lot of times what we typically do, that there is a uh, efforts or the resource which are getting wasted reading multiple dashboards. Now, if you are able to place those dashboards in a single console, and then you are getting the meaningful outcome, then I guess your job is very easy. And you don't have nowadays lot of resources to go and check every, like for desktop you have a single resource, then firewall you have a different resource, then for antivirus you have different resource. So internally, what we need to do, maybe with the help of new AI, agentic AI, if you can collaborate all this tool in a single console and then get the meaningful outcome, then you have the complete 360-degree visibility that in which area, which layer you are somewhere falling short, and that need to be taken care, the high risk areas.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, so one ransomware breach can nullify years of security work. What does readiness look like in 2026 to you, Sachin?
Uh, Now, complex environment, digitalization, a lot of customer demands, lot of new regulations coming in. But I feel like, okay, as we started with a note that right selection of tools which are suitable for your environment. It should not be just like a short-term investment. Any investment, it has to be long-term, because only after the long term you will be able to gain the desired outcome of what you have been sold. So it is not like a fruit which you can get in a overnight. So you have to make sure that you have the right investment with the right tools and technology, right selection of the vendor suitable for your environment, the scoping of your environment. So this is what a very ground layer. On the top of it, if you can build the multiple standards and certification, that will help you to penetrate into each and every control. And as we discussed, that continuous reading or measuring of those controls definitely will help you to make sure that, okay, where you are. And then maybe in the cybersecurity world, there are now a lot of threat modeling, threat detection, then multiple your cyber risk assessments of your environment. If you have the combination of all this, definitely if something is getting missed in some area, definitely it will get captured within the another scan or another test. So likewise, if you do multiple rounds of testing and the scans, somewhere that small tiny vulnerability will get identified, it will get popped up, which may cause a major incident. You will be able to remediate it, fix it, and do it in a continuous cycle. And as I mentioned that now lot of, because on the other side it's like a police and theft. So the things which are getting stronger, but on the other side cyber attacks are increasing. Now where is that gap coming in? Why we are falling short that still the cyber attacks are happening? Now it's a real the need of the time, and that's why if you have seen lot of the cyber governance which has been deployed by government of India, every state they have the cyber education awareness, the governance, and then the other dedicated the department which has been deployed. Sanchar Sarthi, which is taking care from the DOT perspective. So every area they have now got this awareness that we need to tighten it. So from the DOT level, they are tightening it. So nowadays, if you have seen on every call, if you say whether it's a spam, now how they are getting identified as a spam, because that the call or the number which has been registered in the DOT or in the central telecom, that has been violated somewhere the policies, and it has been flagged as a spam. Once it is flagged, now it's very easy for the people that they should not take those calls, because obviously it is getting on your screen that it is spam. Cyber awareness, cyber vigilance, education, awareness. So what I wanted to convey a message is continuous contribution from all the areas. It is not about organization, but it is like a professional plus personal plus community. So I guess, and even on the top of it, every single individual, a resident of India, should create awareness, whatever they know in the area of cyber security, data privacy, information security. And since this data privacy and so many laws which are coming up, even European the government like EU GDPR, now they started enforcing the EU AI. So AI standard has been already is in rolled out. So probably maybe sometime soon, even in India or maybe for rest of the countries, somewhere there will be a standard adherence to AI. So with the lot of new regulations, stringent laws, the acts which are getting built up, definitely there is no way to bypass it or to get excuse of it. You have to do it. And when it is enforced, I guess somewhere the adherence or awareness on this security or cyber or privacy or regulation will increase. And more you do, more is in the benefit of organization. So for 2026, the single line, the bottom line message will be keep on getting as much as you can, deploying it and to make the best use of it. I guess that will help for the prevention from your issues.
Yeah, sure. So, time for something quick and crisp. One line answers only. We'll be having a rapid fire now. And I'm sure that will be a fun. I'll start with you, Sachin, and Saurabh, you can also add some punchlines to what Sachin is telling. So, Sachin, you ready for that?
Yes, yes, yeah, we
Okay.
can.
So, one security habit every employee should adopt.
Not sharing of passwords.
Okay. So, Saurabh, you can also keep adding your punchlines wherever you think you want.
Definitely two-factor or multi-factor authentication wherever possible.
Yeah. So, one tech investment, Sachin, you will never regret.
On the perimeter, on the stringent perimeter security.
Sure. So, one headline in 2026 you want to see in cyber industry.
Awareness, awareness, awareness.
Okay. So, one myth you want to kill forever.
Infosec or cyber or anything which is not complex, which is not difficult, you can crack it, you can adhere it, you can comply it, and you can make that you can stand the best amongst others.
Saurabh,
I
any
w-
take on
I
this?
would like to add here. What happens is IT security. There's a myth that CISO is responsible. He will do some magic on firewall and application, and then we'll be secure. I think one myth is some X person is responsible for security. I don't agree. Every individual in the organization, right from the lowest level to highest level, they all need to contribute. Then only organization will be secure. So that through constant awareness, trainings, deployment of new tools, etc., we need to make people aware that security is everybody's job. While few people may carry the title of CISO or IT manager or whatever, everyone has to contribute. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Totally agree with you. So, coming back to you, Sachin, AI in cyber, friend or risky friend?
I will say little risky, friend, depending upon what adherence you follow. AI is always best, but why I say little risky, not 100% risky, because it depends upon the small fine tuning of adherence of your AI and adoption of AI in your organization. And have you adopted any standards for the adoption of that AI so that data is within inside?
Sure. So that was fun. Thank you for playing along. And before we wrap up, one actionable takeaway for CISOs watching today. Over to you, Sachin.
Yeah, so I guess the message now, lot of CISOs, they know the technology, they have the all the skill sets, they are good into certified network practitioners, cloud security experts, everything. But what I feel is like, okay, you should be able to get what you want from the board. You should be able to convey a message to the board that this is something the right way of doing the things. And then maybe you should be make sure that you have adopted whatever best resources available, no matter it's your VAPT, scan, test, certification, standards, vendors, tools, technology, anything, everything. If you make the best use of it, getting the help from the board, I guess, then you are safe.
That was quite concise and practical. Thank you so much. So, time to sign off. Fantastic insights from both of you today. We explored not just gaps, but execution pathways from endpoints to tool consolidation to breach recovery readiness and the ways, moving forward, how to be ready for 2026. Sachin, Saurabh, thank you for enriching the conversation. To our viewers, stay tuned for more leadership stories on Talks with Kalpana, CXO Spotlight. Have a great day.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.